Hey guys, it's Greg here. Today I'm going to talk to you about something kind of different than what I usually do. I'm going to talk about my experience seeing the band Swans. So, for those who know me pretty well, at least, you'll know that Swans is my all time favorite band. They are my favorite, and there's not really anything that comes really close at all. Um, so yeah, Swans is my all-time favorite band, and I had the absolute opportunity of a lifetime to see them live this Saturday, September 27th. And in short, they were not just the greatest live band I've ever seen. It was easily one of the best days of my life seeing them. It was incredible. So I will say this: I have seen a lot of bands. I've seen Nine Inch Nails, which kind of I've grown out of as of recently. I've seen Tool, which I've also grown out of as of recently. I Kind of an interesting coincidence. Both of them are real popular, so I thought I'd mention them. I've seen Ministry. I've seen Skinny Puppy. I've seen a lot of industrial bands like that. I've seen Nick Cave, who actually has a member of Swans, Larry Mullins, at least in the live band. Nick Cave has Larry Mullins playing percussion, like a drum kit, and I think there's been times where he's played keys for them. I know I saw a performance of him playing Red Right Hand with Nick Cave, and he played it was either a synthesizer or some sort of organ synth, which is the same thing. Well, not exactly the same thing, but it's the same sort of idea. So, anyways, um, with that being said, I've seen a lot of live bands, and there isn't a single band except for I also saw David Byrne. That's a little off topic. I plan on making a video about my experience seeing David Byrne. This was a couple weeks ago, but yeah, I'd say Nick Cave and David Byrne were the only two bands that were even a little bit close in terms of just an experience to Swans. Obviously, Swans was the best, but yeah, with that being said, Swans was the best. I'll give you the details of it. But yeah, so first I want to talk about just some sort of minor details about the concert and the experience. And I'll throw some pictures up on screen for those interested. What I got in terms of merch. This might not be something any of you care about, but I was really happy about this. I think right now on stream, I probably have a picture of. First is probably going to be the records I got, and then next will be the CD I got plus another CD I got signed and the ticket, plus it'll probably be the shirt for last. So at the actual concert itself, and I'll try to keep this very brief because I have a feeling this is going to be quite a long video. At the actual concert itself, I got as you can see from the picture before, I got a brown t-shirt that says Swans. It's kind of faint to see the Swans part. It says Birthing in white, which is the name of their new album. And I believe it says Death, also in kind of like a dark black color, sort of. I think that's what it says. I'm like 90% sure. From the other picture, I got a copy of the brand new Swans album, Birthing, which I adore. It might be my favorite Swans album, I'm so incredibly blessed to have, gotten to see this this band that I love so much playing not all songs from the album, because for the most part it was songs that were either from other albums or have never been recorded before, but it was good to at least get to see them while they're in this sort of era of that Birthing type big sound. So yeah, it was incredible. So yeah, on screen you'll probably see or at least before, the copy of Birthing, which has signatures from the whole band, and we'll talk about that later. That was one of the highlights of my life. Truly, I'm not even just saying it. It was genuinely. Um, and you should probably be able to see a copy of Larry Mullen's solo record, Camasonia, which I haven't gotten the chance to listen to yet, but I plan on either listening to it during this week, but more likely over the weekend. I've been really looking forward to listen to it. You cannot actually get the record on, or you can't listen to it digitally, which I think it was on digital for a little while. I'm not really sure what happened with it, but not an issue. I'm more than happy to support him. Again, one of my favorite musicians. Like, I adore this band so much. It is, you guys, I know I might be biased, but they truly are the greatest band, like, ever. They're so incredible. But yeah, so I got a copy of Larry Mullen's solo record, and I got a copy of their new album, Birthing, along with a copy of Michael Giroix's demo album of the second most recent Swans album, Birthing. It's called Is There Really a Mind? It has some demos and stuff from the album Birthing, which is pretty cool. I'm very, very glad I was able to get a copy of that. I don't think they're easy to get online, but yeah. So, into some of the really cool details about this show. So, I was there with my dad. He left me for a few minutes to go to the bathroom, and when he did, Larry Mullins, the gentleman I bought the record from, and he's also, like I said, from Nick Cave as well. So to give you reference to where I was standing, I was sort of standing on a little, kind of like a mini platform, not necessarily a platform, but the venue was essentially a couple platforms descending. Like, you'd go down a staircase and you would get to another level, and then you'd go down a staircase, and then there would be another level where you could stand. I think there was like 2 or 3 levels, and then there was the sort of pit, I guess you can say, which I don't know. I don't necessarily like that term, but that's just what it is. So literally just a couple feet in front of me was Larry Mullins. He was talking to somebody who I think wanted a book signed. It was The Consumer, if you guys are familiar with that. It's a book of Michael's called The Consumer, and it's very, very difficult to find. I think you can maybe read it online, but getting physical copies are near impossible unless you're willing to dish out like $250,000, or not well, I'd say $500,000, $500, if you want to get a copy of this, which is insane. I really hope he does a reprint, because you just can't get copies of it unless you want to dish out, an absurd amount of money. So he got that signed, and my dad came back, and I was telling him, like, I just saw Larry Mullins. He was right there. I remember him saying that he would be back because he was trying, the guy was trying to get him to sign, or get him to get Michael to sign the book. So he ended up coming back, and I was super nervous because, again, these are people that are like my heroes. They truly are. So I kind of got up the courage, and I went down and I talked to him and asked him if he would sign my records, and he did. He signed my copy of Birthing, and he signed my copy of his solo record, Camasonia. And I talked to him very briefly about how my dad and I saw him in Columbus. That's where we saw him in Nick Cave. And he was telling us about how Nick Cave really likes the sort of the big, beautiful American theaters. It's sort of like, if you guys have ever been to a concert before, sometimes there's venues where it's like a more modern, like, I don't want to say gritty look, but it's not like a big, beautiful theater like you would see a play in. It's a more sort of gritty, just like almost concert venue for like rock music. This was like a very beautiful American theater, and he was talking about how Nick Cave really loves playing there, and it was an incredible theater. A lot less people than you'd expect at a Nick Cave concert. Nick Cave is incredibly popular, at least sort of in this sphere of music. But yeah, I just talked to him briefly, and and then I saw the first band, which was Little Annie. I was I was not necessarily impressed. Not that she was bad. I just wasn't necessarily my type of music. I was very worried because I never listened to her before, never seen her before, and I wasn't sure if she was sick or what was going on, but she looked very frail, and I don't know. I was worried that she just wasn't doing good. But she put on a not a bad show at all. Not really my type of music necessarily, but she did a very good job, in my opinion. But again, she was not doing so good. So I was kind of concerned about that. It was kind of unnerving to see. I felt really bad. But yeah, and then of course Swans came out, and the experience was nothing short of extraordinary. They played 6 songs, 3 never recorded before and brand new, 3 which are on previous albums, which I'll get to. They played Newly Sentient Being, I keep saying a lot. I'm just trying to kind of collect my words. The End of Forgetting. They played a song called Little Mind. Those were the songs that they had never recorded before. And then in terms of the songs they have recorded before, they played Paradise Is Mine from the album The Beggar. They played the song A Little God in My Hand by I'm sorry. I'm just still like impacted by this concert and just how amazing it was. But they played A Little God in My Hands. I think it said hand, but minor details here that I'm focusing on. They played A Little God in My Hands from To Be Kind, which it's not a bad album at all. It's very, very good. Kind of I don't want to say what put Swans on the radar again, but if you guys know Anthony Fantano, I'm not a fan of him, but a lot of his fans were introduced to that album. And yeah, it got Swans a sort of, new rush of popularity. And they played a rendition of the song The Merge from the new album Birthing, plus they had lyrics from the song also from Birthing, The Healers, which is one of my favorite songs from the album. And it was just incredible. All the songs were great. So, if you guys have seen Swans or heard of Swans before, at least their live performance, generally how it goes is this: they play, and then after the concert, Michael will come out and he will sign for people and talk very briefly. So I obviously knew that, and I was very much so looking forward to that, because to my knowledge, at least before, I thought he was the only member of the band that I had sort of a guarantee in seeing. And obviously, judging by the one picture I showed you, that was not the case. I met the entire band. But yeah, so after the show ended, Michael said, he'd be out in a few minutes, and obviously he was, because I got a signature, as you can see on the copy of Birthing, the ticket, and of course my copy of, it's a combo of the album Holy Money and Greed, one of my favorite Swans albums, or 2 of my favorite Swans albums, both great. And yeah, so he went up to where the merch stand was. For anyone who hasn't seen the band yet, that's how it works. He goes to where the merch stand is and he signs things. It's so cool that, he stays after to sign things for fans. You don't see that often at all. Sometimes you'll see that with smaller shows, but I'll tell you this, it is very much not a common thing, and it is so nice. Now, before I actually got to meet him, I actually got to meet, obviously, Larry Mullins, like we said before, and I got to meet Dana Schechter. She was tearing things down, and she was talking to some fans, and I went up, and I asked her if I could get her signature, and I did, and, thanked her, for the show, and, of course, the signature, and she was very nice. And after the show ended, they were kind of ushering people to get out of the venue, not really to stay after. Because what I was hoping to do is get to stay after and meet some of the members, more of the members, but I didn't get to do that in the venue, at least. I was able to basically stay after right outside the venue, and the members would come out and we got to talk to them a little bit. So I met in this order. Basically, right as I got out, I met Christoph Hahn. And I took a picture with him, along with Larry Mullins. I'll throw those pictures up on screen right now. So I met Larry Mullins, Dana Schechter, then Christoph Hahn. He was super nice. Signed my record. He lit up a cigarette while I got my picture taken. I thought that was pretty funny, and he told me not to smoke and that it was a bad habit, which I thought was good advice, of course. I'm trying to remember who I met after. Dana Schechter was there too, talking with people pretty much immediately after the show. So this is 4 members so far. Next came Christopher Pravdicha, who is a huge influence on me. I'm a bass player, for those who don't know. And he is an incredibly huge influence on me. And I was really hoping I would get to meet him, and I did. He was incredibly kind, signed my record. I took a picture with him, and that literally, just that alone, just made my, not just my day, my week, my year. It literally just made, it made me so incredible. I'm still, like, just glowing from that. That was an incredible experience. And yeah, so that was super neat. I'm trying to think of what happened and the order of who I met next. If I remember correctly, I met Philip Paleo next. And that was pretty cool. He's in a band that I like, he was in a band I like called Cop Shoot Cop. They're a 80s, 90s kind of no-wave industrial band, sort of like early Swans. Pretty neat. And I met, I'm blanking here. I'm just so shocked. Norman Westberg. I met him too. He was the last person I met. And we were there probably an hour after. And again, these are some of the kindest people ever. They made an effort to talk to fans, sign things, take pictures. They are so incredibly kind. I've never had such a positive experience with, a band before. They are some of, like, the most kind people I've ever met. Yeah, it was just incredible. Like I said, I'm still just absolutely glowing from just this whole experience. It genuinely made it made such a difference in my life. I know it sounds silly, but it truly did. But yeah, so that was pretty cool. Trying to think of what else to say. And something that I think should be noted is a lot of people will be genuinely rude and kind of just unpleasant to the members of the band. I think what genuinely happens, and this is really kind of odd, is people will go to Michael and they will ask him, like, stupid fucking questions, and they'll, like, be rude, and they'll just kind of, like, disregard his time, because, like, I mean, he's meeting with fans and signing things after the show out of the kindness of his heart. He doesn't have to do this. Like, I think for every band I've seen sign things after the show, I'd probably say, actually, no, not even for every, I've met 3 bands out of a couple dozen that have signed things after the show. Just because there's so many people at these concerts, they just can't do that. I met, who did I meet? Sorry, I'm trying to think here. I don't want to be too caught up on this, but it's not a common thing. People, like, bands don't stay after the show to sign. So the fact that not only the leader of the band would stay back and sign, but all the other members would, take time to talk with fans was just incredibly, incredibly cool. But people just are rude to Michael, and, like, I think he rightfully so just doesn't put up with it, and people act like he's, like, he's rude or something, but that couldn't be further from the case. He was so incredibly sweet to me, and so incredibly welcoming, and and just kind. So I don't know why people have this sort of notion. I've seen people online talk about how Michael was rude and like, but that's not the case. He was not rude. He was incredibly kind. I mean, just the interaction with him alone would have probably made the rest of my year. But like I said, the entire band was so gracious and kind and understanding. Especially because, like, I mean, you guys have known this because I've talked about this before, but I have autism, so it's not really easy for me to talk to people, especially, people I admire so much, but they were so incredibly patient with me and so incredibly kind. It meant so much to me. So I want to thank, the band. I want to thank, obviously, my viewers, but I also want to thank my parents for getting me the tickets and, my dad taking me to Denver. We live in Pennsylvania. It's not close. We had to fly from Pennsylvania to Denver. But he was willing to do that because he knows, Swans have made such a big impact on my life. And, it means, it means more than the world to me. It means more than anybody could ever imagine. So, again, I just want to thank, everybody, because this genuinely, like, I would say it genuinely changed my life, this experience. And I just hope this video can be a sort of a positive experience for you guys about seeing the band. And my hopes are that, you'll see this and maybe you'll have a positive experience as well. And also that you guys are able to support such an incredibly generous and kind band. An incredible group of people. Like, if anybody deserves, your support, it's these guys. Because they are nothing but incredible. So that's all I want to say. I hope you guys, appreciated this. And yeah, I thank you all for watching. And yeah, see you guys later.